Hi, this is Isaac, and welcome to my commentary on Clockwork Knight for the Sega Saturn. This was released in 1994 for the Sega Saturn in Japan, and was later released in US and Europe, and was one of the launch games in US and Europe. And I'm playing the Japanese version, and the reason I'm playing the Japanese version is because it's the cheaper version compared to the US version. And I have a Japanese Sega Saturn console, so I don't have to worry about using the Action Replay Plus cartridge. I still have a US Sega Saturn console, and I used to have an Action Replay cartridge that worked, but the Action Replay cartridge broke. So now what I have is a Japanese Sega Saturn console, and now I just play my games on that, since all the games I have so far are Japanese games, and I play the games on there without having to go through the Action Replay cartridge. And what this means is that I don't have to go through the cartridge slot, which is nice because the cartridge slot apparently can be hard to get to work. And also apparently the Action Replay cartridge is also something that is not easy to get to work either. So here we have the intro, which is something that looks noticeably dated now, but is probably pretty nice for the time. And the basic story is that Princess Chelsea has been kidnapped, and Sir Tongra de Pepperchow has to go rescue her. And I'll just be referring to him as Tongra throughout this Let's Play. And Tongra has to rescue her because without her song, the toys won't be able to be awakened. And she awakens the toys every night at midnight. So the overall gameplay is rather simple, but it has a nice charm to it, I think, with the toy theme being something that's not often seen in platforming games, I think. And certainly not one that is used pretty much ever in a single video game, not usually. A toy theme is not usually used throughout a single video game in a platformer, so this game is rather unique for that. And the elements of the game are rather unique and nicely put together, even though it's rather simple to play, and the game is rather short, but it's a game that works nicely, especially when played together with the sequel Clockwork Knight 2, which has pretty much the same gameplay physics as the first one, and just adds a small amount of things. Now, to stop you on your quest, there are various toys that, in the intro, put under a spell by an unknown cause, and the actual kidnapper itself that's shown in the intro isn't really shown again for the rest of the game. So it's rather unknown as to the identity of the kidnapper. But there is, of course, a final boss. Now I changed the difficulty to hard mode, and I changed the amount of lives I have to the max amount that you can have, starting out. And I did this just for safety purposes, just in case. And I always do this even when playing on normal mode, even though I've beaten it on normal mode several times, and I can beat it on normal mode without losing a life. But I just do this. I set the amount of lives. I used to have a recording of this on normal mode, and that used to be how I beat the game, but now I've been able to beat it on hard mode, thanks to a video of made by Austin on the Gameplay and Talk channel that he made. And thanks to that video, I've been able to beat this game on hard mode. And this is my first time beating the game on that mode. And later on, I played it again on hard mode, just for fun on a casual playthrough. And I thought the game was still pretty fun after all this time. Now in hard mode here, I can't beat it without a death, so there will be bloopers that I'll have cut out. But there'll be a blooper reel later on that I'll have uploaded. That'll show all the parts where I lost lives. And I didn't end up losing that many lives, so it was pretty good. Especially because the second time I played for it casually, I ended up losing more lives. Specifically on one section, which I'll get to later. Here we have one of the game's dialogue scenes, and I'll be making another video with all of the game's cutscenes put together in one video that will have subtitles for the game's text so you can see what the characters are saying, because, well, the thing is that these characters' dialogue scenes were cut out in the overseas version. And basically what the characters say is they give you hints on the upcoming levels as well as the upcoming bosses. And if you take a secret exit, then the character will say that they've hidden a key that you can use to skip the boss. And this is all on normal mode, and that's just the translations that the YouTube channel has, which I'll link to in the video description. There's a Clockwork Knight YouTube themed channel. There's a Clockwork Knight themed channel that's on YouTube, which I'll link to in the video description, that has many different videos on it that you can watch. And it shows, one thing that it shows is all the secret exits, which I don't take and I've never taken. And I've also never seen any videos of the keys, and I haven't gone for the keys, so I don't know exactly how it works, but apparently there are keys that you can use to skip bosses. And on hard mode, they have different text, it seems, because that's just something that I seem to have observed. And the translation for the text scenes are only on normal mode and not on hard mode, so I can't tell you what the characters are saying. So I just put up the translations for the normal mode text, and I'll just leave it up to you to figure out what they're saying on hard mode. Maybe use some sort of other way of learning Japanese in a translation guide or something. Because I tried looking and I haven't found anyone that's translated these cutscenes on hard mode. So yeah, oddly enough, the characters don't actually do anything in the overseas version when you walk up to them. It just simply shows you walking across the map and that's it. And those cutscenes can be skipped and the dialogue scenes can be skipped through if you want to. But I just leave them in so you can see what they look like. But when I play for it casually, I do skip through them. Another difference between the Japanese version and the overseas version that you may already notice is that in the Japanese version, this character has a naturalistic human skin tone, and in the overseas version, he's changed to a bluish skin tone. And apparently this was done to make him look less like a human and more like a toy. Now apparently this was the reason behind the change during the localization process of Clockwork Knight. But don't quote me on that. There's this whole thing of you can't trust everything you read on the internet. And the way to beat the boss... Now, all the bosses have names that are only revealed in the Japanese version. And the way you beat this guy is you simply wait for the right time to hit him, and then you just avoid his attacks. It really is pretty straightforward. It's actually not too much to say. The most that can be said, it's a pretty straightforward boss. So this game has a pretty Sonic the Hedgehog, I feel like, structure to it, where now that I've moved on to the second world, I've done the first 2 levels and that ends the first world, and now I'm gonna do the next 2 levels of which is gonna end the second world, and that's gonna be the structure so on until I reach the 4th world where there's 2 levels, and then there's a boss, and then there's a boss after that, which is the final boss. And really that mimics something like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 or Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, where you have 2 acts in a zone and then a boss, and then you move on to another 2 acts and so on. It doesn't always end up that way, but it's usually like that. As opposed to the first Sonic the Hedgehog game where it's 3 acts in a zone, and then a boss, and then you move on to another 3 acts. Now, one of the differences in this game between normal mode and hard mode is that on hard mode they have different variations of enemies. Like, there are these green guys, which are a different variation of another colored enemy that take more hits to beat. And there's also different colored clocks in the first world, which take more hits to beat than the other colored clocks. I think they're red, as opposed to green. The green ones take more hits than the red one, I'm pretty sure. And then you also have these shield guys here, which only appear in this level on hard mode. In normal mode, they just simply aren't there. And the way you deal with them, I didn't really know how to deal with them super well until I watched Austin's video of this game on Gameplay and Talk. And the idea is that you hit them 3 times and then they put their shield up, and then you run up, and then you go down, and then you hit them down in the legs, and then you beat them. And didn't really know that for a while. And that was the main thing keeping me from beating this game on hard mode, is that I would get to this part and I wouldn't really know how to get past these guys consistently. But now that I know that, I can go ahead and play this game on hard mode. And also I can get past Clockwork Knight 2 much easier as well, because that game contains more of those guys in general. Now if you look in the background here, there's Sega Saturn on a poster, and there's a picture of the second boss, whose name is Double Jetter. And he's basically like a transformer-like robot. And he's gonna be the boss of the second world. Now, the boss of the first world was Dandy Bob. And the enemies have names as well, some of them. But they're revealed in the credits of Clockwork Knight 2. So I'm probably not going to be referring to them by their names right now. I'll just be calling them like generic names or something like that. Now, if you're looking for the secret exits, the key is that they're in the second level of every world. And here I just got an invincibility item, which makes you invincible to everything except falling in a pit or getting crushed by a certain obstacle in the fourth world, which I'll point out later. Now, when you attack an enemy, you'll either beat it or you'll stun it. And when you stun it, you can go through it and not take damage. But you can also pick it up and throw it at other enemies or just throw it to get rid of it. But it will come back to life after a short time. So you want to be careful when you're picking it up and holding it. You can run around with it for a bit, but it will come back to life eventually, so you don't want to hang on to the enemy for too long. And that'll come into play a lot on the second boss, if you want to try attacking the boss with the enemies. But generally what I do is I just run up and attack the boss without the enemies. Which I didn't know how to do for a while, but I just kind of figured it out. I think it was like on my own just while playing it. Or maybe from a video or something, but it wasn't from Austin's gameplay and talk video, I know that. You want to be running and not standing still and attacking him is the key. Now here's the first time where I had a death, and I only died once, which was good. So I didn't have too much problem with this boss. I can get by without losing to him, but it's not a big deal that I lost since it's on hard mode and all, and sometimes it just happens like that. When the boss is flashing, that means that you'll know that he's close to being beaten. And you can get points either, well, you can get a life either by collecting enough points, or you can collect Tongura's head icon in order to collect lives. And you can get plenty of lives throughout the game. You can also get lives by a bonus game at the end of the level, which I just lose on purpose because I don't really need the extra lives and it's rather difficult and inconsistent. So I just go ahead and skip the bonus game on purpose and move on and just complete the level. And I also do the same thing for this bonus game that you get if you have enough coins at the end of the level, or Imperial coins. I skip the bonus level at the end by selecting the option to just skip it instead of paying coins. And the idea is you pay coins and you select the right box in order to win. And with that, that'll be the end of this video. This is Isaac, and I will see you later.